Welcome to Working It Out Across Generations. I am one of your co-hosts. I'm Dr. Lynne.
And I'm Justin.
And we are so thrilled that you've joined us. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. We talk about all things conflict, from the big to the small, from the small to the big, workplace, home life, relationships, world. Conflict is everywhere. So there's plenty for us to talk about. I like this topic today, but Justin loves this topic. So I'm going to let him tell you what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I think this is just a very universal topic that a lot of people could benefit from just being in the room and having the conversation, right? We're going to be talking about whether or not it's healthy to be money hungry. I think we came up with this just out of being in New York, right? Like part of our promo, as you partly saw, was, being in New York, if you want to leave your house or come home, right? Like you're probably going to have to spend a good amount of money. And I've heard from so many different people in different chapters of their lives about their relationships with money, about their approach to money and all these different things. And even as someone who's working on it themselves, we just thought it'd be great to get conversation going, put it out there, put a little more normalization around it too, because I think that money is something also that people have a lot of shame around.
They don't want to talk
about it, or they'd rather put you down about your situation than to really address the things that make your situation what it is. And all these different things, I think, is really why this topic's important. So that's a little bit of my thoughts as to why we brought this out. But I think as far as, just a little more, like I said, I think I'll double down on just the relationship with money, right? I think that so much of the life we want to live and achieving those things, yes, you need money for that, but I'm also so much of a mindset person. I'm way more of a, how do we connect spiritually and emotionally and connect to the literal soil that we're walking on every day and all these different things. And while that's great, that doesn't get bills paid, right? So like that totally, there's just so many truths here to this conversation to hold, as universal as it is, but also as individualized as these circumstances are for people, that I think that putting some more normalization around having the conversation instead of just shaming people for whatever their situation is, for whatever their drive and levels of drive are and all these different things, I think we can have this conversation in a much more productive manner.
Yeah, I wasn't overjoyed about having the conversation, and maybe that is even connected to what you're talking about.
I'm not either. I'm not either. Why was it like? Well, I have so much of my own
stuff about this topic, and
you're putting experiences and words in my mouth that I have not said. I said that this is just a great topic because of all of the way that we try to honestly shit on each other when it comes to money and all these different things, right? We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
That's a you problem, but we'll talk about it later. We're alive. So at the end of the day, I think that there's just so much negative connotation around the topic that I was excited to bring it forth in a new light. So I will just clarify that.
Thank you for clarifying.
Because we're not putting words and experiences in people.
You already why the topic is good, because we only choose topics that there's conflict around, right? So even just bringing it up, even just me hearing what he said and then putting my own spin on it, I'm sure comes from my own money messages, right? This topic is so good for so many reasons. I think it causes conflict in a lot of ways. As an entrepreneur, I see so much around people money hungry, if that's the right term, or just the focus so much on money. So many people are trying to teach other people how to be a 6 and 7 and 8 figure business, and their businesses sell out. People want to know how to do that. And then we have the other side of it, is this scarcity mentality that keeps people from working with other people or talking with other people, as you said. There's not enough money. If I have a lot of money, there's not enough money for everybody else. So I got to keep mine to myself, and I got to keep my secrets to myself, and I got to keep my success to myself, and I got to step on you to make as much money as possible.
Right.
And that's just a mindset that I think is very problematic, causes a lot of problems, or you have people who will never spend money on other folks. They call them cheap or whatever. And a lot of you know what
yeah.
we all know
we
somebody,
love you, those kinds of people,
right?
by the way.
We
do.
all know somebody
That's funny.
that's counting their pennies, and they don't. In our view, they don't have to be counting the pennies, but they counting.
That's
right?
that's so funny.
Counting yours too.
Yeah, that's real.
Sure,
that's very real.
Making sure that you chip in whatever it is you're supposed to chip in. But I think that there's just a real need, as you said, for a conversation around this. Every time we do this show and you start talking, or even when I start talking, things just come up in my head about the topic. And hey, I'm old school. Some of y'all may not remember this song, and I'm sure there have been plenty of other songs since then. But I can remember this song coming out and me thinking, yeah, this causes a lot of problems in relationships. So the song was, there's nothing going on but the rent, and maybe that wasn't the full title or whatever. But it said you have to have a J-O-B if you want to be with me. And boy, that caused so much controversy.
It's probably catchy, but that sounds terrible.
That's what people say.
I mean, it's probably catchy, but what the hell are we talking about?
But the reason why is because people were in relationships and they had their own feelings and mindset around being in relationship with someone who wasn't working, right? Money constantly being an issue for people. So I don't know. That just came up for me. I thought it was pretty cool to have that memory. Yes, it does rhyme. Melissa, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Monet, for one of our future season 3 guests joining us too today. But I just feel like this topic is hard for people. It truly is hard for people to really think about and talk about with others. Nobody wants to tell you what they're making, right? That's supposed to be a big secret. Even now, I see some companies are returning to the better way. I feel the better way, but for the longest time, there were jobs, right? Descriptions, and then they would never tell you what it paid. It was like, why do I have to apply for something I don't know what you're paying? It's this
That's
big
real.
secret, right? And when I was coming up, listen, you got the pay, the sliding scale, whatever it was, you at least had that information so that you could think about, is this something that I really want to do? Or is it something that I have to do, right? And I got to take this particular salary, even though it's not the one that I want. But the other thing that it made me think about is how much conflict it starts in families. From the beginning, there are families that will steer their kids to particular fields because they know they pay extremely well. And sometimes that's fine because the kids either don't know or they're like, fine, because I want to make a lot of money too. And sometimes, though, you're steering your child away from something that they're really passionate about. And hey, I know some of it's cultural. I get that. But I really feel like when we're not having real honest and ongoing conversations about money, there's a lot of negative connotations around it that come up, and we start to cling to it and to them. So if our money situation changes and it goes down some, then we begin to get frightened, right? If it goes up, sometimes I'll admit I could get a little careless and carefree and start spending. But so where's the balance? What do we do?
Touche.
Yeah.
Touche. We're working on it.
We're all working on it.
We're working on it. We're works in progress, right? So
I wonder what messages that we communicate, you and me and your dad. Are probably not good ones because we struggle financially.
So
Dad, you can be honest.
I mean, I'll be honest for sure. I mean, my damn show. So yeah, I'll be honest. I feel like we had multiple truths to hold when it came to money in our family and in our household. We knew that at the end of the day, especially this is definitely going into my generational take and growing up in these elite private white institutions, PWIs for school, right? I feel like I just received a lot of mixed messaging in the sense of, how are people living like this and we're living like that, or like and all these different things. And for sure, when I was a kid, it definitely, and it still shows up in some areas now, but for sure, way more when I was a kid, it was definitely more of like a envy or like a greed thing, more in the sense of just like, I want that for us too. So like we should have that. Plus some of the people we knew definitely didn't deserve some of that life, to be quite frank. So I think that with that, sadly, there came this level of, I feel like I'm living in two different worlds, and I have to maneuver in different ways. However, a very big positive that I think I've taken on as part of my personality is just how much fun we've had with little. Like we were the household that made forts. You know what I mean? We were the household that set up little bowling in our living room, right? Like that wasn't, like that wasn't, we yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like we were the outside, go to the pool, have a pool day at my aunt's house and barbecue type of family all the time. And then trips too, of course. So I think for me, and yes, those things cost money. I'm fully aware that those things cost money. However, in the sense of the two different worlds that I was living in, right? Like an over-resourced family to an under-resourced family, right? Like, and just the gap in that, I think it definitely early on played on my psyche of like, my value and all these different things, and just all these different questions that I was really asking to try to get language around, right, as I'm growing up, to see how this all lands for me. But I'm so grateful for my childhood in the sense of it really, for my brother and I, all it took was a ball and two people, and we were having fun for hours, right? So let alone anything else that we could have and anything else we had access to, we definitely felt very lucky, very, very blessed. And that's my experience, right? I'm very grateful for that experience. However, I know even with my friends and even with, people I've gone to school with and met in just different situations and environments, that come up is different. That come up's very different. And so I think that, we don't know and we can't speak to what we don't know unless we reveal some of this stuff. And it's not like we need to start saying, oh, well, my parents made this in this year and all this other stuff, or I made this in that year and these are our future plans. We're not saying all that. It's more of, again, those negative connotations that are very easy to live in, of like, am I worthy enough because I only make this, or all these different things. I know another big message I got was, and I kind of still hear messages like this now, with men for sure, which is like, don't date unless you got money. Don't put yourself out there in that way to receive love or to receive something from someone else in another way if you don't have this level of security to provide, right? And it's not that emotional support isn't valid. It's not that, all these other ways that we could be there for people aren't valid. I just know that messaging that I've heard and still hear recently and to this day, for a lot of men around them and young men, is that we feel like we're not worthy of, I guess, a lot of the things that life, honestly, we're just granted to if we're born and blessed to be born, unless we make a certain income, right? Yeah. So messaging like that is where, for me, I want to, I don't want to change what anyone thinks. I just want to challenge it in the sense of, there's always something deeper there, right? Especially when it comes to like love or relationships and all these different things, and how money somehow plays a role in that.
And would you say you're money hungry?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And like it's like healthy and unhealthy. Like absolutely. I mean, I'll say it, like, to be quite frank, these were schools in which kids were doing whatever they wanted, like, and showing up to school in Porsches, and they could show me their stock portfolio that their parents told them about, and I mean, there's wealth in there, right? Like all these different things. And so I'm never gonna like say y'all don't deserve it, I'm saying I deserve it too.
Yeah,
so I'm definitely going to do the work, and I'm definitely going to put myself in whatever space necessary to live the life that I want. However, the times it can get unhealthy, which we'll get into later, is when you start feeling like disconnected and disassociated from people and from community and all these different things. So it's definitely a balance, but for sure, for the life that I want to live, I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money. So definitely money hungry for sure. And more security hungry, I think, which I get. But.
Yeah, it's interesting because I can remember. I do not think that we gave you good messages around money because I don't remember conversations around it.
Right.
I can remember growing up.
It's a great point.
It was kind of like my mom. I could see that my parents were struggling, and in fact, I thought we were poor. I know we weren't poor. So anybody who knows me on here, don't go telling me you weren't poor. I was. I know that.
That's real. That's stupid real. That's so real. But yeah.
But I knew that, but I felt like it. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting too because we had lived it. We moved to a neighborhood, from an all African American neighborhood to predominantly, if not all white neighborhood, and the incomes were different. And I could see that my dad always worked 2 or 3 jobs, and eventually my mom went back to work. I could see that.
And then coming home to cook and all these different things. Whereas my reality was, these kids had chefs or babysitters, or that really is my reality. So I can see how even just, again, normalizing a parent, how working with that for yourself, let alone for your kids too, is managing like 4 different worlds at that point. So that's crazy. Yeah,
well, that's interesting too, because as we're talking today, right, thinking about money and how people think about it, I can remember that your birthday parties were some of the most popular ones because we would, we had, your dad cooked, his chicken was just, you couldn't beat it. Fried chicken was just the best.
And we can't replicate it. We've been trying.
Right. So that always happened. But what was really fun is we would wait until right at dusk and we would walk to Van Cortlandt Park, which is very close to our house. And we gave everybody as a gift flashlights, and we would go and we would do our walk our night walk. We called it a night walk. And hey,
the rich kids loved it. I mean, that was our life, so we loved it. But like, you would think the kids that like,
have to spend money on that,
we did. They were like, wow.
And
I'm like, yeah, bro.
Always had a great time. So I feel like we communicated that we don't have to feel badly about ourselves, even though I think it's hard when you're in an environment where people are making a lot of money. Same thing I feel around entrepreneurship, right? And you can see that some folks are really doing well, even though folks are able to, pretend a lot too, right? Photographs on social media, living your best life, and they're really not, right? But
that's just my entire generation. I mean, people now, to the point, it's not even just an influencer thing. It's like, I think even just because of the influencer vibe, right, it's become so normalized to, it's not even just showing off the highlights, it's like showing stuff you're like not even doing. You know what I mean? Like really like taking on damn near a whole life that's not yours.
That's right.
Because through a screen, how much can those questions really pierce any of your armor? But it's like so deceptive, especially
you can make anything look real.
Yes, for sure. I was like, where are you going with that?
I know.
Yeah, but that's exactly where you were. But that's exactly what it is. Like exactly what it is. So it's such a interesting line to walk here. But
Jamila, if you are still here, I would love you to just type in that part, what you meant, because we passed that part before we saw your comment, and I would love to know what resonated with you when you said that part. I'm gonna say one more thing and give you time to type it if you're still here, and then we'll move into some more talking points that we want to give for you. But I want to say also that I got a very clear message that I shouldn't be money hungry. Just being an African American in my community, I think what my community was trying to set me up for, or certainly my my parents, even though they gave the message you can be and do whatever you want to do, there was also an equally clear message that you owe something to your community, and that we don't necessarily have the highest paying jobs, but we do have jobs where we serve, and that's important. And so you get used to making some good money, enough to pay your bills. Like, it's a damaging message. I'm sorry, it just is, because I absolutely can serve my community, and I think I can serve my community better when I make a significant amount of money and certainly can live my lifestyle. I'm a giver, whatever income I'm at, but I can give even more when I'm at the higher income. And I don't think that makes me money hungry. My dad accused me of being greedy, of wanting to go from the needy to the greedy, and
that's
Lord,
crazy.
help me.
Yeah,
But
damn.
I think that's just a dangerous message. Anyway,
And I think that's a lot more personal than like really like yours to hold.
Right.
If that's like what he's bringing.
but it's a message that's given in many communities, especially marginalized communities. That
For sure.
there is that message.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
but
sure.
we're gonna go on. Jamila, if you're still here and you want to write it, we'll try to come back to it. But in the meantime, we want to talk about, what are we talking about, Justin?
Jesus, look at this is why you can't start touching stuff on the computer.
Okay.
We're moving on to our pros of
Thank you.
being money hungry,
There you
right? I think there's multiple truths to hold here, as we've said, and as we've even started to explore. So let's get into some pros of this, right? I think the first one here for me is just goal driven.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in the most money hungry people I've seen, I think in, security hunger people, right? Whatever you want to say. They're very goal driven. And I think that it's one thing, of course, to want something, and it's another thing to want something, put a plan around it, actually take some action in that, do some debrief with yourself after to see how we're feeling about next steps, all these different things. And I think that these people tend to have this skill very honed in. It's almost at times kind of like robotic in the sense of there's so much to do, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to make sure stuff gets done because I know it's going to amount to this in the end, whether it ends up this way, the way that I envisioned or not. So I think goal driven is very, very huge.
Yeah, I think if you are money hungry in the positive sense of the word, because there's a negative connotation to it too, but we're talking about, this is your thing. You do have the goals, and you are driven by those goals, and you check them off and make sure you stick to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, hardworking. I think these people, as I said, they just keep going. They know what they got to do. They know what it's all going to amount to. I think that there's certain things we can expect out of life, but the reality is life is out here throwing curveballs left and right. There's so many new pitches now, even since like the 70s and stuff. So there's splitters, there's cut fastballs, there's all these different things with different movement. I know you don't know. But there's all these different things that have different movement and land in different places for people that it's very easy to get knocked off your horse. It's very easy to not want to get back on it. And I think that these are people who very much understand that and are able to roll with the punches. And it takes hard work to be able to even train yourself to roll with things not going the way you expected. So I think that hard working is very, very huge because it's so broad, even though so many things fit under the umbrella that do get attacked even all at once just through the hard work that these people possess.
Yeah, I think this is one interesting one for me because I know that plenty of people who are not money hungry are hardworking. So we're not talking about that. But I do believe, yes, when money is your focus, and including when you're not making a lot of it and you got to pay the bills, you tend to be very hardworking. You show up, you do what you got to do.
Take some extra shifts.
That's right.
Yeah.
but also if you're
Sure.
looking to move up, right? And a lot of times people who are money hungry are looking to move up, or if they're entrepreneurs working for themselves, right? Then they are, oh, I can tell you. I mean, listen, y'all, I'm about to have a birthday this weekend.
Woo!
And I'm going to be 66, and there is no way at 66 I thought I'd be working this hard. But I'm an entrepreneur. I'm doing my thing. And so, yeah, and I won't say chasing the money, because that to me has been a very negative mentality. I let the money come for me. But it is a focus. It is a focus of mine. And that means that I am working hard, not as hard as I used to, because I'm also working smart. But absolutely, I believe that people who are money hungry definitely are hardworking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, you just said it, like, that's hard work in itself. You haven't trained yourself to step out of that mindset of, let me attack, be on offense, and instead let me kind of take a step back and learn how to attract.
Right.
And these are all things that
Except
just
for
take.
those billionaires.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, except for the billionaires who aren't working that hard, they just letting the money work for them. I get it. I get it. The stocks or whatever else you got, you letting it work for you. But the rest of us, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. And then next, I would say discipline in most ways, right? So I think one thing that I've heard that might not like contradict this, but might be just another truth to hold that I've heard, seen, experienced, right, in my own time, is that they are spenders. Like, money hungry people are spenders, right? Like, I think we're all spenders and want nice things, and it's not nice things, just want what we want and the ability to get what we want, right? So maybe in some cases, not disciplined everywhere when it comes to the management, I guess, of it.
Mm-hmm.
However, the discipline it takes to get up every day, do the same stuff that you know is for your growth, that takes real like energy that I don't think a lot of people really put enough language around, in the sense of, yes, of course, we know we all have to get up, do what we got to do, and all these things, broad term.
Right.
But how do we develop that discipline, the everything that, is happening behind the scenes, the stuff that, people don't see? How do we start to love that more?
Right.
And I think that these are people who have done the work to, appreciate what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff, I guess, that can remind you externally in life that, you're doing well or whatever it is, right? But if you don't believe that yourself, if you don't feel that yourself, if you don't train yourself enough to really know that, even on your darkest day, then stuff can just get even more difficult when it comes to, let alone management, but going to get it.
Yeah.
So I think that I've seen a lot of discipline in people who have really chased after the security that they now have.
Yeah. I think it's important that all three of these, right, to bring them up, because if somebody in your relationship, and we see your comments out, we'll get to that.
Yes, just keep talking.
Right. Somewhere in the relationship, if you are in relationship and the person who is money hungry, right, is causing problems for you, I think it's important for you to be able to see, though, these three aspects of it, right? So that it doesn't become an entirely negative conversation, right? That you understand that being this way can also develop some strong habits, right? Characteristics. So the being disciplined is great. I mean, especially if you are a person who can be disciplined around money, is when you're making a lot of it.
I was gonna say, that's
I
huge.
mean, and I am not counting y'all people who things aren't important to you. There are plenty of people who have a lot of money. I think Bill Gates is one of them. I was like, things aren't important to him, and that's great. But I'm the kind of person, I'm a Leo, a straight to the heart, August Leo, and things are
important.
I love shiny things.
Yep.
And so for me,
and that's huge to know.
Yes, it is, because the discipline I have to have when I am in the flow.
Yep.
Right.
That's huge. That's not hard. That's not easy.
It's
strong.
hard.
It's
strong.
Easy.
So that's something that if that's a problem in your relationship, you want to at least take into account, right, the positive aspects that that person may have, or if the person is you,
For sure.
that they have.
And yeah, coming back to a comment, Aunt Monet, good to see you still in here. It's challenging for me to not chase the bag, the money, the munyon, when I know I have bills to pay. That is a fact. I mean, y'all get it more than me. But, I mean, with the stuff I got to pay for, yeah, I mean, like, it is challenging. And especially with, again, the messaging that we're constantly receiving all the time. You know, the message is always go get it, go after it. If you don't have it, you're not doing enough, and all this other stuff, right? And so it's definitely one of those things that discipline is really going to help a lot, especially for your literal, like, mental sake, let alone the physical burnout you could possibly experience by chasing too much of your goals.
I also challenge you to think about, when you are chasing the bag, when you have bills to pay, what is your focus? Because if your focus is on that you have bills to pay and you don't have the money, or you have to have the money, right? Yes. Hustle team, no sleep, grind time. Yep, Tara, absolutely. If that's your focus, then it becomes much more about chasing the money than allowing the money to come to you. Doing the things that you got to do to get the money, to get the promotion, to get the new contract, the client, we get that. But what's your mind saying to you when you're chasing the bag to pay the bills, right? The bills are going to get paid. And I know folks are like, how do you know? Sometimes my bills haven't been paid. Mine either sometimes, right? But I know that when I change my focus to what are the things that I want to go after, what are those goals, right? And be disciplined in that way. And then be honest about what I can do about my bills, you know, and then it's not a chase the bag. It's the money chasing me, coming from me. Yeah.
This is the realest conversation that I've ever had.
About money, right?
So I'm very glad to be having this conversation. Like, actually, very glad to be having this conversation.
Yeah. So then let's talk about, though, what are the cons to being money hungry, right?
And cons also meaning outside of, you know, I guess negative, like just things to consider.
Right.
You know what I mean? On top of that.
That's CON, starts consider.
Yes, right? And so we're just going to keep going before I get mad. So go ahead, Doctor.
I love it. All right, let's focus on community. I'm going to tell you.
That's true.
Even if you're not a people person, we were made for community.
It's true.
We just were. I mean, Tara and Jamila, we are part of the Shine Crew community, and that community means a whole lot. There are lots of communities that are part of family, all these things. And if everything is about money, then you start to turn down the invitations to be with your community, with your people, with your family. Oh no, I gotta work, or oh no, I gotta, you know, like chase the bag. I got money. Time is money. So my time can't be spent with y'all.
That's so real.
Because I gotta make the money, and then you will see, right, that people will say that was not the most important thing in their life. When people get to the end of their lives and they're able to have the opportunity to talk about what was important, the money was not the important thing. It was the time spent with people who really matter, who can build you up. That's the other thing. If you're chasing the money, or you're just have a good, healthy goal of going after money, then be around the people who love you and support you in that and encourage you in that. I know some people just want you around to spend your money, but that's not most people.
No.
Right? It's really, I find that if money is first, then people, community, family, relationships, even your kids are last, right? And that to me is something to consider about being money hungry.
Yeah, I actually have nothing seconding that. I think that's a very solid explanation. I kind of took the words out of my mouth there, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Let's see, we got
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Monet just said mindset needs to be a prosperity mindset, not lack. Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely.
You know what it
And
is.
we know that's not always easy when they making threatening calls or threatening notices or whatever it is to say you better pay, right? And we all like our lights on, things like that. But yeah, it does make a difference. Yep. So the next one is when it becomes all you think about, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
You are in trouble because then it becomes an obsession and you become someone very uncomfortable to be around and you lose yourself in it because this life living isn't all about money. I am not going to deny that when you have enough and more than enough, yes, it does make aspects of life easier. Yes, there's no question, and even a sigh of relief, less stress financially. But if it's all you think about, then you're going to measure the value of the time you're spending doing other things against making money, right? Or how can I make money off of this? You can start to use people, right, to only be around them for what they can do for you financially. It becomes a life that is not enjoyable. Even if you think you're enjoying, oh, I'm flying here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yes, and what else? Right? Yeah. And it becomes too much of a priority, I think.
For sure. I think it can even become, people's personality. And that's, an interesting personality choice in the sense of, I love just our last point of community, right? Like, what are you really thinking about? What really matters to you? Like what, and these are just questions, good questions that I think we all should be asking ourselves. But I literally have been that person. Like I've been that person in the sense of I'm out with friends and I can't even enjoy this moment because I'm over here worried about like what's, I got to do more, right? Or I know for a lot of young people will think in certain times like I'm better than this. I'm better than this moment. I'm better than whatever environment that I'm in right now. And I need to get these finances right so that I can show and whatever that I'm better, which isn't really, has nothing to do with any sort of real self-love, self-growth, and all these different things. And so you just get so taken out of the moment when this is your focus all the time. And I've definitely been a victim of that, definitely been guilty of that. But it's something that so needs to be talked about more, especially for our young people. We have kids. Kids are losing friendships because of money. I've lost friendships because of money, whether it got in the way or whether I was more about community and this other person was more about money, right? So there's just that disconnect of like when we spend time together, what are we doing and how does that go and all these different things. And then there's some people who I've had to do some work to really understand their own struggles around money and why that might have come up in our dynamic. And of course, that's a choice that I had to make, right? But which, you don't have to all the time if you don't want to, if it's not healthy. But there's just so much here when it comes to being taken out of a moment, taken out of really appreciating all of what life has to offer.
I think there is a tremendous amount of stress on this. It becomes all people are thinking about whether they are doing well, right, financially, or whether they are struggling or challenged by it in the moment. It begins to take over everything, as you said. So you could be the one who this is all you think about, but if you're around other people, it becomes really apparent, and then people can feel judged based on what they can bring to you, give to you, what's the benefit to you financially. Can I afford to go out with these folks, right? And am I able to pay my share of the bill? And do I have to lie, right? People may start lying and saying, oh, something else is on my calendar because they're afraid to go out with you because it becomes only about money and what I can do for you financially. And that's a tremendous pressure to put on anybody. It's a tremendous pressure for people who feel like they have to be only thinking about money because they have to pay their bills. They have to look a certain way. I'm not a responsible parent, right? I'm not a responsible man. That men are brought up so much more to believe that they are the financial breadwinners, and that pressure is there. And so this one, I think when you start to see yourself doing this, you really want to pull back and check out what's happening for you. Why is this your primary motivation in life?
Yeah, that's real. And then lastly, I think you become very result oriented when this is your main focus, your main, chasing thing, right? Um, as I said earlier, the reality is life is going to throw you stuff that you didn't see coming. Life's going to throw you stuff that you could think you're prepared for or have put things in place to prepare for, really on some planning ahead stuff, which is a real skill. But the impact is completely different, right? And I think that when we live result oriented, right? When we live, even it's not necessarily fantasy, but it's like just in a way in which we think things are going to go the way that we want and hoped and however we kept telling ourselves, right? When things don't go your way, I think that it's very easy to get rocked off of your boat.
Yeah.
And the big thing with that, getting rocked off your boat, for me as to why I put this in here and why we really stand on this is really the thoughts that you tell yourself. Like we've already started to talk about it, but like, I'm not worthy. Like I shouldn't do this, right? Or that because, I didn't show up in this way or I didn't perform in this way, right? Whereas the reality is, maybe that thing just wasn't meant to be, or maybe you weren't supposed to receive that thing at this time or in this way, right? So I think that when we get comfortable with the fact that life's just going to like throw you stuff that you honestly could have done nothing but your best at trying to deal with, then you start to live a little more free. However, chasing money is something that we need all the time, right? Bills, reoccurring, all these different things. It becomes easy, even for a second, if you're rocked off your horse with receiving a result that you didn't expect, to go into that negative and deep thinking. And that's where I think stuff can get costly, for sure. Way more than anything that money could save you from.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to you, Andrea, Chief Shine Officer in the house, Shine Crew. I see you. Anyway.
Shout out you.
Andrew Harrison. Anyway.
Shout out you.
Anyway,
my mom loves you, so shout out you.
Oriented. I'm shouting out everybody that's showing up for us because we appreciate it. I think in terms of result oriented, if you don't see what you want or what you feel like you put out all this effort for, or even money for, right? Then it becomes a thing of blaming yourself or beating yourself up and feeling like it could feel like maybe you don't even know. Like, I don't know how to make money. Like everything I'm trying to do seems to lead me to a place of regret that I invested in this particular thing. Or maybe you're like me, I am a huge dreamer. So, if the return or the results weren't what I was dreaming of, thinking they should be, then I feel very down on myself. I think there are plenty of people, unfortunately, who are anxious, who around money, who get depressed about money. And
Sure.
I'm speaking from a place of having been there
For sure.
and having to really fight to make sure that I don't go back there, because I think that it is an easy thing to do when you live in a society that presents money as the answer to absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to tell you that it is not, but I know that it's very important. And we have to be really pay attention to what it is we are doing with our money and why, so that whatever the result is, that we're learning from it, not punishing ourselves for it. Right? Or even thinking that, oh, I'm so much better than everybody because my results keep coming, right? I'm going to tell you something that may sound silly, but I've decided that there are ways that people do really well in making money, and there are ways that people should stay away from. My aunt Marilyn, God bless her, she's no longer with us here on this plane, but man, she can walk into any casino and just win. I'm talking thousands. I mean, I walk into a casino like, no, this is not my money thing, right? This is not how I'm gonna make a lot of money. I go on scratch offs. I stop doing those because that's not how I'm making money. Is letting people take the money. And I'm just saying that your results may be different because maybe this isn't the lane for you in terms of how you are going to make the money. So learn the lesson, take the lesson, and then move to where you might be doing better, getting better results.
For sure.
That's just me.
For sure. That's good stuff. I think as far as my last thoughts, I would just say that I think a lot of people know this. It's simply difficult to just remind ourselves of, right? But money really is a tool, one tool out of a toolbox that really does help add to the life that we want, but it's one tool. Like, I really have to stress that enough. As much as, of course, I want more and strive for more, and I'm going to work to more, I'm very grateful for everything that I have and everything that I have had. And so that's a tough thing to even expect other people to just say and feel about their own experiences, right? However, we should be definitely encouraging more of that and less of the whole, well, you live like this, so you're not worthy of me even coming and possibly teaching you how to get out of this particular environment or circumstance, whatever it is, right? We're not trying to save everyone, right? But we can definitely help people save themselves and just help them strive to bigger things for themselves, right? So one tool out of the toolbox. We definitely can have a more positive connotation around even the struggles that people face with money. And I think conversations like this are how we do it.
Yeah, I think we have to be talking about money.
Yeah.
Our own thoughts about it, right? As well as if whoever we're in a relationship with, or even just gathering together, right, with friends and talking about it, because it is now, I think, more than ever, something that people are using to measure themselves and other people, and not always in a very good way. There is so much more to you and other people than how much money they make. I tell you, I'm grateful. I have been in probably every kind of home, and I can tell you that there are people who are not making a lot of money, who are challenged and struggling, who are some of the most fun and beautiful, wonderful people who should be making more money, right? And I've been in places, in homes that are amazing. I mean, amazing. And I have to say that it's not that people aren't nice, but I don't see the difference in them. It's people, and the people who don't have as much as they have. So it's not a measure really of who you are, but we've allowed society to make it be such a measure that we don't even want to talk about it with one another. And we've got to have these honest conversations. We've got to be able to reflect on ourselves, our own attitudes, and the attitudes of what other people are thinking. Because I agree, money's a tool, and it's an important tool, but it ain't the only tool in the toolbox.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thanks to everyone for being here.
Yes.
You know how we feel about any like, any subscription, any share, any comment, any engagement. It really does mean the world to us. Small is all. It all adds up. Every view. So seriously, thank you so much. Please catch us, e360tv.com, Trajectory Channel, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. We can expect Dr. Lynn to say that every time we pull up this particular banner. But it's very true. Watch us on the big screen. I think we look pretty good on camera, but that's subjective, I guess. So next, we got Facebook, Working It Out TV show, YouTube, Working It Out Across Generations. Seriously, we're just trying to have some conversations here. And we're so grateful for everyone who's been here and anyone who's continued to show support. Anyone new that has come in and just given us a few seconds to feel us out. Even that means the world to us. Seriously, we can definitely start to have a more positive connotation around these very difficult topics that we've already started to address. So season 3 is coming up next. Can't wait for that. We've got some cool guests.
Coming up in the fall.
Cool guests already planned for you. And we'll be seeing you soon.
Hey, we love the love. Hey, Andrea Harrison said, tell the people, Dr. Lynn, trying to tell them we are. And then Monet said, great episode. Thanks. Love you both.
Love you too, Aunt Monet.
Can't wait to have you on as a guest in your expertise in season 3. Andrea, you too. We got to talk. Okay. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. And you know what we always say about conflict. Conflict is here to teach us something about ourselves. So go out and find out what it is.
See you, everyone.